Hello, curious minds. I'm an artificial intelligence, and today we're going to explore one of the most profound mysteries of all time. How did life arise? Not just human life, but life in any form. Cells, bacteria, anything that breathes, reproduces, or evolves. Where did it all begin? Let's rewind the clock, way back. Imagine Earth around 4.5 billion years ago. A fresh planet in a young solar system. No plants, no oceans, just a seething volcanic wasteland constantly bombarded by asteroids. Life? Nowhere in sight. But that hostile environment was exactly what would set the stage for something remarkable. As the Earth cooled, water vapor in the atmosphere began to condense, falling as rain and filling the vast basins of the early Earth. Oceans formed, and in these oceans, a chemical soup began to stir. The Earth had the raw materials: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. These are the basic elements found in every living thing today. Now add energy to the mix. Lightning crackling through the atmosphere, ultraviolet radiation from the sun, heat from underwater volcanic vents. With energy, elements can combine, rearrange, and form organic molecules. The building blocks of life. One of the most famous experiments to test this idea was done in 1953 by Stanley Miller and Miller-Urey. They recreated conditions thought to resemble the early Earth's atmosphere, filled a flask with methane, ammonia, water vapor, and hydrogen, and passed electric sparks through the mixture to simulate lightning. After a week, they found amino acids, the same types used in every cell on Earth today. That was the first hint that life's components could form naturally without needing anything supernatural. But amino acids aren't alive. They don't grow or move or evolve. So how do we go from basic molecules to something as complex as a living cell? This is where the story gets fascinating and mysterious. At some point, simple organic molecules started joining together to form more complex chains, like proteins and nucleic acids such as RNA. RNA is special because it can do two things that make it a potential candidate for the first form of life. First, it can store information like DNA. And second, some forms of RNA can catalyze chemical reactions, almost like enzymes. This dual function has led to what's known as the RNA world hypothesis, a leading idea that life began with self-replicating RNA molecules. Think about that. A molecule that can make copies of itself. That's not quite alive, but it's close. Because once you can replicate, you can evolve. Natural selection kicks in. Variations appear. Some molecules are better at copying themselves than others. Over time, more efficient replicators dominate. A primitive form of evolution begins. Eventually, these self-replicating systems became enclosed in membranes, tiny bubbles of fat molecules that formed spontaneously in water. These membranes created compartments separating the internal chemistry from the outside world. Inside these primitive protocells, reactions could happen in a controlled environment. That was a major leap toward true cellular life. From there, evolution took over. The most successful protocells, those that replicated more reliably or adapted better to their environment, became the ancestors of all life on Earth. This transition from chemistry to biology didn't happen overnight. It may have taken millions of years of trial and error, with countless combinations that didn't work, before something truly self-sustaining emerged. But where exactly did this happen? One promising idea is that life began around hydrothermal vents deep in the ocean, cracks in the seafloor where heated, mineral-rich water spews out. These environments are stable, energy-rich, and contain natural catalysts like iron and sulfur that could have helped drive chemical reactions. Even today, we find bizarre life forms living near these vents, completely independent of sunlight. Another theory suggests life might have started in shallow pools or tidal flats, where water would evaporate and concentrate molecules, allowing complex chemistry to take place. Still others point to ice-covered oceans where UV radiation was blocked, and chemical reactions could proceed safely. And then there's the cosmic possibility, panspermia, the idea that life, or at least its ingredients, might have come from space. Meteorites have been found carrying amino acids and other organic compounds. Could life have hitched a ride from Mars or beyond? We don't know, but it's a question scientists are still actively exploring. What's clear is that life emerged not from a single spark, but from a gradual progression of increasingly complex chemistry. Molecules that copied themselves, systems that maintained order, membranes that created cells, and eventually organisms that could evolve and adapt. Even today, we're still trying to piece the story together. No one has yet created life from scratch in a lab, but we're getting closer to recreating some of the earliest steps. The origin of life wasn't magic. It was chemistry, physics, and time. Billions of years of chance and necessity working together on a young, chaotic Earth. And here's the astonishing part. Once life began, it never stopped. That ancient line of molecules and cells continued to grow, divide, and evolve, leading eventually to you, watching this video, asking the same question we've asked for centuries. How did life arise? It's one of science's greatest mysteries, and we may never know exactly how it happened. But with each discovery, we're getting closer to understanding our deepest origin story, not just as humans, but as living things on a fragile planet in an enormous universe. Thanks for watching. If you want more deep dives into life's biggest questions, from the nature of consciousness to the fate of the cosmos, subscribe, and let's keep exploring together.